Friends with benefits, FWB, arrangements are common in modern urban life, appearing to offer simple intimacy without commitment. Two people, already friends, add physical closeness to their bond, drawn by the apparent ease and lack of traditional romantic strings. This setup promises connection and pleasure without the perceived burdens of a defined relationship. Yet human hearts rarely adhere to such neat boundaries. Shared intimacy, even if labeled casual, carries emotional weight. Small, intimate gestures accumulate, subtly weaving threads of attachment. The dilemma deepens when feelings diverge. One person's desires shift from casual comfort to romantic longing, while the other remains content with the original no-strings agreement. This fundamental mismatch in unspoken expectations creates fertile ground for quiet resentment and confusion. The arrangement's initial simplicity becomes its most dangerous trap, leading to an emotional tightrope walk where the question, "What are we, really?" festers. Without open dialogue, both the benefits and, tragically, the friendship itself unravel.
Of FWB rests on its deceptive promise of straightforwardness. Yet, beneath this surface lie treacherous psychological traps. The very ambiguity that attracts individuals to the arrangement renders it volatile, fostering misinterpretation, unspoken desires, and profound disappointment. FWB arrangements often fail due to a fundamental breakdown in communication, specifically the absence of crucial dialogue. The unspoken premise of keeping it casual often translates into a silent agreement to avoid difficult conversations. This creates a vacuum filled with assumptions. One person might genuinely believe the intimacy is casual, while the other interprets it as a sign of deepening affection, quietly hoping for more. This lack of clear negotiation forces individuals into indirect communication, using hints or silence instead of voicing needs. Critical questions, "What are we? Where is this going?" remain unasked, festering beneath the surface. The silent agreement to avoid the talk becomes self-fulfilling, making any eventual conversation exponentially more painful. Unaddressed emotional needs transform into quiet resentment and confusion, ultimately eroding the friendship.
Serves as a refuge for those struggling with commitment phobia. It's chosen not just for physical convenience, but for its perceived ability to sidestep the formidable challenge of a conventional romantic partnership. For these individuals, commitment is often seen as a trap, a loss of independence, or a suffocating demand. This fear can stem from past heartbreaks, a belief that vulnerability leads to pain, or an aversion to demands on personal space. The FWB arrangement appears to offer an elegant solution: physical intimacy and emotional closeness without formal commitment. It promises the warmth of companionship without the burden of responsibility, and the thrill of connection without perceived threats to autonomy. However, this balance is unstable. True intimacy involves vulnerability and emotional reciprocity. Even purely physical intimacy fosters a bond that transcends casual encounters. The heart often doesn't recognize the no-strings-attached caveat. For those driven by a fear of commitment, the success of the benefits can ironically trigger their internal alarm system. As emotional ties strengthen, they may pull back or resist defining the relationship, perpetuating ambiguity as a defensive strategy. This traps them in a cycle of emotional avoidance, preventing the very fulfillment they might unknowingly seek.
FWB dynamics often unfold against a universal human challenge, highlighted by developmental theories, the push between intimacy and isolation.
After developing a sense of self, there's a strong drive to form deep, committed relationships, daring to blend identities and build profound trust. The FWB dynamic, with its barriers against true commitment, can become a subtle way to avoid this essential developmental task. It offers a tantalizing taste of intimacy, physical closeness, rapport, shared vulnerability, without demanding the full emotional investment or long-term responsibilities. Individuals can experience some comforts of connection without fully diving into its inherent challenges and risks. For some, this arrangement becomes a stagnant pool in their emotional journey. They might perpetually orbit this stage, experiencing shallow connections that never blossom into mature partnerships. This prevents them from developing crucial skills for lasting bonds, such as honest conflict resolution and deep emotional reciprocity. They might gain temporary comfort from the benefits, but miss the profound personal growth that comes from truly entwining their life with another's. The danger lies in reinforcing patterns of isolation. While physically close, the no-strings-attached contract can create a subtle barrier to genuine emotional bonding. If someone consistently experiences partial connections where deep emotional needs are implicitly discouraged, it can strengthen a sense of being fundamentally alone despite companionship. This is particularly poignant for the person whose feelings evolve as they crave a deeper bond within an arrangement designed to prevent it. They're intimate, yet isolated in their unspoken longing. True intimacy demands courageous engagement and vulnerability without convenient escape clauses. The FWB arrangement, by offering a limited, controlled version of closeness, can inadvertently prevent individuals from fully embracing this growth imperative, trapping them in a cycle of casual intimacies without achieving profound identity-affirming connection.
The FWB blueprint promises maximum pleasure with minimal emotional fallout. Yet the human heart rarely adheres to blueprints, leading to an inevitable, often painful, unraveling. The most potent catalyst for unraveling FWB is the subtle yet powerful divergence of desires. A mutually agreed upon casual understanding rarely remains indefinitely so. Shared physical intimacy combined with existing friendship generates an emotional current difficult to contain. For at least one person, feelings inevitably begin to shift. For one individual, these intimate moments weave a tapestry of deeper affection. The physical closeness becomes a placeholder for something more profound, a glimpse of a romantic partnership secretly craved. What was once convenient transforms into quiet desperation as their heart yearns for commitment. They become trapped between fear of shattering the arrangement and the escalating pain of unmet emotional needs, constantly hoping their unspoken longing is perceived. Meanwhile, the other person often remains rooted in the initial understanding, content with low-stakes intimacy. They might be oblivious to or choose to ignore their friend's deepening emotional landscape. This fundamental mismatch creates an unbearable imbalance. The unspoken expectations of one become a source of profound, unacknowledged pain. The casual nature, once a shield, becomes a weapon, dismissing burgeoning feelings. This unequal emotional investment inevitably strains both the intimacy and the friendship, leading to a heartbreaking rupture. The foundation of any connection is trust, fostered by transparency and clear intentions. In FWB, this foundation often cracks due to its core premise, the unspoken agreement that certain truths remain unsaid. The rule to keep things light inadvertently becomes a mandate to keep secrets, especially secrets of the heart. For the person whose feelings deepen, hiding them becomes an unbearable emotional burden. Every intimate moment is filtered through a painful duality: authentic affection versus the need to meticulously conceal it to avoid complicating the arrangement. This continuous internal censorship cultivates a subtle form of dishonesty. This lack of transparency breeds suspicion and resentment. The person whose feelings have evolved interprets every action as a deliberate withholding, feeling misled by the absence of forthrightness. The original friendship, once a safe harbor, becomes contaminated by unspoken romantic desires. Conversely, for the individual committed to casualness, trust can also erode. They may sense a shift in their friend's demeanor, a subtle clinginess, heightened emotional sensitivity. They feel burdened by uninvited emotional demands or subtly pushed towards unwanted commitment. Ultimately, the inherent ambiguity of FWB, by implicitly discouraging explicit emotional negotiation, poisons trust. Without the courage to voice needs and evolving feelings, misunderstandings fester. The supposed protection of the friendship through a lack of labels leads to its undoing, resulting in a profound sense of betrayal, not necessarily malicious intent, but of the fundamental honesty required to honor another's emotional reality.
Emerging from the emotional labyrinth of FWB feels like stepping from a dense fog. The path forward, though daunting, offers a profound opportunity to redefine how one approaches connection, cultivating relationships built on transparency, integrity, and emotional health. The journey out of ambiguity begins with a radical commitment to clarity, first with oneself, then with others. A. The power of directness, cultivating honest communication. The fundamental flaw in FWB arrangements is their reliance on ambiguity. To move forward, embrace the formidable power of speaking one's truth even when uncomfortable. This means dismantling barriers to expressing authentic needs and evolving feelings. You can no longer rely on hints or assumptions. Instead, courageously articulate what you truly feel and want. For the person whose feelings deepened, this means acknowledging and expressing those feelings, even if it ends the arrangement. This honors your emotional truth and offers the other person the dignity of transparency. Cultivating clear communication involves articulating needs and desires with specificity. For instance, my feelings have changed, and I'm looking for a committed romantic partnership. Secondly, it involves setting explicit boundaries. If an arrangement no longer serves your well-being, state these boundaries clearly. I value our friendship, but I can no longer continue the physical aspect as my feelings have evolved. Crucially, direct communication also entails active listening, truly hearing and respecting the other's response, even if it's not what you hope for. This fosters mutual respect and emotional intelligence. The courage required is immense, risking discomfort and potential rejection. However, the benefits outweigh the fear. Directness brings clarity, ends agonizing ambiguity, promotes respect, and cultivates self-respect by honoring your emotional integrity. Breaking the cycle of unspoken rules is a fundamental shift toward building future connections on genuine openness and mutual understanding. B. Healing from ambiguity, processing loss without closure. The dissolution of an FWB arrangement leaves a distinct wound, one steeped in ambiguity, making healing uniquely challenging. How can you grieve something never officially something, yet emotionally significant? How do you find peace when the narrative remains incomplete? This is where internal closure becomes an absolute necessity. Unlike a traditional breakup with a defined ending, FWB's blurred lines prevent clear conclusion, leaving you in emotional limbo. The path to healing must be forged from within, independent of the other person's actions.
A critical step is to consciously grieve the multiple layers of loss. This includes not just the casual intimacy, but often the cherished friendship that underpinned it. Acknowledge sadness for the shared history and unique bond. Simultaneously, grieve the loss of potential, the unfulfilled hopes and unspoken dreams. Both forms of sorrow deserve to be felt and processed. This process involves actively releasing the need for answers from the other person. Clinging to hope for external explanation prolongs suffering. Their actions or inactions are the answers, communicating an unwillingness or inability to engage in true intimacy. Accepting this, however difficult, frees you from waiting for external validation. Healing from ambiguity also demands self-validation. Acknowledge your feelings as legitimate, even if unreciprocated. This profound act of self-compassion recognizes that feelings naturally deepen, vulnerability is courageous, and your pain is real, regardless of casual labels. This internal validation shifts focus from the other person's absence to your own emotional integrity and resilience. By navigating ambiguous loss, giving yourself permission to grieve, and cultivating internal closure, you can disentangle your emotional well-being from the past. It's a courageous step towards self-liberation, paving the way for future connections built on clarity, respect, and a profound understanding of what you truly need. True healing comes not from receiving closure, but from granting it to yourself. C. Setting clear boundaries for future connections, protecting your emotional landscape. Emerging from the FWB labyrinths, a primary lesson is the danger of blurred lines. To move forward and cultivate robust relationships, you must become a meticulous architect of your emotional landscape, defining and defending its perimeters with unwavering clarity. Setting clear boundaries is a profound act of self-respect and a blueprint for authentic connection. Your past serves as an education in ambiguity's pitfalls, how unspoken expectations fester, how assumptions lead to heartbreak, and how undefinable terms can lead to emotional exploitation. The crucial takeaway? True intimacy thrives within the secure structure of clearly articulated limits. Boundaries are not walls, they are guideposts, ensuring mutual respect and preventing emotional trespass. Practically, setting clear boundaries begins with an internal audit, identifying pain points from the FWB arrangement, inconsistent communication, emotional unavailability, false assumptions. This clarity then translates into external communication. In new or evolving relationships, proactively define the nature of the connection rather than letting it drift. Be upfront about your intentions and expectations. Casual dating, exclusive partnership, platonic friendship. This is about transparency and inviting mutual understanding, not ultimatums. Boundaries extend to practical aspects. Emotional boundaries, physical boundaries, time boundaries, communication style boundaries. Are you comfortable with sporadic texting, or do you need more consistent check-ins? The power of boundaries lies in their consistency. Stating a boundary is a start, but upholding it through action is its true strength. This means disengaging from connections that consistently disregard your limits. It's a powerful assertion of self-worth, demonstrating that you value your emotional well-being and expect others to respect it. By actively setting and maintaining these clear perimeters, you prevent past pain and cultivate an environment where authenticity flourishes, trust grows, and connections are built on explicit understanding, not perilous ambiguity.
We've explored friends with benefits, its allure, ambiguities, psychological traps, and painful unraveling. This arrangement reflects not only individual patterns, but also broader societal currents, offering insight into our collective struggle for intimacy in a complex world. The appeal of FWB speaks to a subconscious desire for connection without the burdens of full commitment.
It reflects a paradox. We crave intimacy, but cling to unburdened autonomy. We want warmth and physical closeness, but without the responsibility and emotional labor of profound bonds. This points to a societal inclination towards convenience and an aversion to emotional effort. The rise and fall of these arrangements comment on our collective relationship literacy. We navigate abundant choices, fostering a mindset where connections can seem interchangeable or temporary. Tools designed to bring us closer can, ironically, make us less adept at direct, courageous communication. The reluctance to define becomes a default, chosen over the liberating act of speaking one's truth. This unspoken agreement allows unacknowledged feelings to fester, transforming friendships into sources of resentment and rupture. The FWB narrative highlights the profound human need for clarity and closure. When these are withheld, the emotional toll is significant. Individuals grappling with unspoken questions experience unresolved grief, mourning a loss that defies easy categorization. This painful experience ultimately sharpens one's understanding of true integrity in connection, consistency, transparency, and mutual respect. Ultimately, the unraveling of these arrangements offers a crucial, hard-won lesson. It refines the heart, teaching that genuine intimacy cannot flourish in ambiguity's shadows. It demands authenticity, the courage to reveal one's true self and desires, and an unwavering commitment to clear boundaries that protect one's emotional landscape. It underscores that relationships thrive on explicit understanding and mutual respect. The FWB journey becomes transformative. It pushes individuals to confront their fears and cultivate a stronger sense of self. Crucially, it highlights the imperative to move beyond superficiality towards a more conscious way of loving. This conscious loving is an active choice to engage with integrity, communicate with courage, and seek connections that honor the full spectrum of human emotion. True freedom lies not in avoiding commitment, but in making intentional choices aligned with one's deepest needs for authentic connection. Through this refining fire, individuals emerge with a clearer vision for their emotional future, ready to weave durable and truly fulfilling threads of connection. Do you want to explore any specific section or idea in even greater detail, or perhaps discuss how these insights might apply to different relationship dynamics? As we conclude today's exploration, a fundamental truth emerges. Understanding the intricacies of human connection is an ongoing journey. If today's insights resonated with you and you're committed to navigating relationships with greater clarity and depth, then LoveThreads is your essential guide. Join our community of thoughtful explorers. Subscribe now to ensure you receive every new episode as we continue to deconstruct the psychology behind modern connections. But don't just listen, participate. Share your own experiences in the comments below. What relationship thread has presented your biggest challenge, and what profound lesson did it teach you? Your perspective enriches our collective understanding. Let's continue these vital conversations together.